Hello and welcome to another episode of Voices of SUP, where we chat to some inspirational people in the stand-up paddling community. Let's get into introducing our Voice of SUP today. He is a Molokai to Oahu champion, a 5 times Australian champion, a 2-time King of the Cut champion. He's ranked second in the world for SUP surfing on the APP World Tour, and in the same year took home the overall race and surf title for the APP. He's a foil maestro, a previous meteorologist, now coach. Let's introduce our Voice of SUP, James Casey.
I guess I describe myself as someone who's just following my passions. Starting back from like when I was working as a meteorologist, I wanted to go to uni and just sort of do something I enjoyed, and sort of ended up I did climate science because I was really interested in that. Since then, sport's really taken a big hold of my life, and started with SUP surfing, and I had competed against you a lot when I first started, and then went into some of the racing stuff as well, and the downwind stuff especially really I still really enjoy. And then now the foiling, it's just, you can kind of, if you look at it like that, it's like just following that path, then this path, and that path, then this path, and just following my passion and trying to do my best to share my passion with everyone else as well.
Yeah, nice. How did you become involved with stand-up paddleboarding in the first place, and when was that?
Yeah, so I started stand-up paddleboarding. I was in Maui, like I said, very lucky. I was on a family trip to Maui, and I saw Laird Hamilton SUP surfing out Ho'okipa. And at the time, I was really into kite surfing, and we were there kite surfing. I learned to kite surf over there, and it was all really good. And I actually sprained my ankle kite surfing. And what it meant was, on the days without wind, I couldn't surf, because popping up into a surfing position, like, basically re-sprained my ankle. So I was swimming for a couple of days and just body surfing. And then I borrowed I hired a paddleboard from High Tech, which is a shop that's still over there in Maui. And I hired it for the rest of the time I was there. I think it was another 2 weeks. And I just sort of paddled out to the outside reefs and just surfed the stand-up. It was epic. I was like, oh, this is awesome. And it was at a point where stand-up, there wasn't even boards back in Australia yet. So I did that, and then I came home, and you couldn't buy a board over there, back home in Australia. So I was actually chatting to Sam Parker, and he owned a windsurf shop, and he was just getting a board made. So he's like, oh, try paddle a windsurf board. So we grabbed one of my dad's windsurf boards and a rake, an old plastic rake, and cut the prongs off the rake, and we started paddling on this old windsurf board. We got a gnarly rash in our stomach, from the sandpaper deck. So, and then a week later, we got to borrow Sam Parker's, custom massive longboard, but it was a stand-up. And that was kind of the beginning of it all.
Did you take it out in the waves with the rake?
we paddled out. I don't think we caught anything. It was pretty shocking, but we figured out how we could. We were in the ocean. Right. Yeah. But it was. I don't think we caught anything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you took up the paddle way back before SUP was even really in Australia, like you said, and you began competing in SUP events as they kind of came to light. You obviously started out doing it for fun and doing what you love. At what point did you feel like it was turning into a career for you?
Yeah, so it was probably a couple of years after that. My mum and dad both got paddleboards, and I borrowed them every now and then, but I still surfed, and I was actually pretty into the rugby union scene at that time. And I never really took up or thought of stand-up paddleboarding as a career path or an opportunity. Probably 3 or 4 years later from that one time I took the windsurfer and rake out. So it was a pretty long gap between first doing it and linking the dots and finding there wasn't actually an opportunity for, something more than just a hobby. And I did the Marimbula Classic. I think it was 2016 or 2015 maybe. And I met Toby Cracknell and JC Shimahara and Kai Bates down there. And that was basically my introduction to stand-up paddle competition. And we went to Sunset the following year. Must have been, 2014 or 2015. And I did my first event. I would have met you over there. And that was before I'd even done state titles, and I sort of threw myself in the deep end. And I made it through the trials and got knocked out first round. I think Jackson Close knocked me out. And I was like, well, I made it to the first round. And Tristan, as you know, he's like, well, you qualified for the rest of the tour if you want to do it. I was like, sweet. So I was lucky enough, my stepdad works for Qantas, so I got a few good deals and I could travel pretty easily. So yeah, it was fun.
It's amazing that was kind of like your first event. Like you said, you threw yourself in the deep end, wanted to make it happen. I guess at that point, you're kind of just there just for the experience, and it kind of doesn't matter really about the competition, which is why people can actually surf so well. There's not that much pressure on them. But did you surf before growing up, or did you just start surfing before you got into paddleboarding?
No, I grew up surfing. Both my mum and dad were surfers growing up in the area. My mum was actually an amateur world champion. She won a world title over in Cornwall, so like in England. And my dad used to shape her boards growing up. So yeah, they taught me to surf from a young age. But I never really got into surfing like proper until I was probably 11 or 12. And then I did local board riders from then onwards until I was 20.
Your dad obviously come from shaping boards. Your mum was a amateur world champion. You've been a world champion, overall race and surf champion. How did Coach Casey come about? Was that sort of a natural progression with stand-up paddleboarding with you with coaching, or have you had experience coaching before?
No, so I'd never even. I'd done a little bit of coaching. I'd just done my kite surfing instructor's course because after uni I figured it'd be a good little side job. No one was doing it in Sydney here, so I did my kite surf instructor's course. And I'd never really planned on doing stand-up paddle coaching. Just, it was something I did. I competed at it, and it was just as I was starting to travel a bit more. One of the local guys contacted me and said, "Look, I want to get into stand-up paddling and I want to do the racing. Would you coach me?" And I was at first I was like, "Oh, we can do a few lessons, but not sure you want me to coach you." And he's like, "No, I want you to coach me. And when you're away, let's just be in touch and let's keep in contact." And since then it's grown from there. So that's probably about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago now. And it's grown into something much bigger than I probably ever imagined. And it's been good. So it started off just one-on-one lessons, and now it's sort of online coaching. So writing programs, analyzing videos, and now creating sort of online learning modules. So how to have good technique, how to paddle out through the surf, how to turn at a can, how to downwind, all the above. So it's been really fun working on that during COVID. But also, prior to that, learning, I guess, how to create a platform online and coach someone.
Are you, through all of this kind of exposure in the stand-up paddling world, from downwinding Molokai to Oahu, obviously the king of the kite race, you're known in that downwinding realm, and then the surfing as well. You cover a vast array of disciplines. Is there a message that you're actively sharing with your followers, or that you're trying to get across to everyone?
I think it's whatever the craft, whatever the conditions, there's always something to do. If the surf's completely flat, go for a paddle on your stand-up race board. If it's windy and the surf's blown out, go for a downwinder. If the surf's pumping, go surf. It's just, I'm sure you're much the same. There's always something, and especially now with foiling, there's always something that's the conditions are perfect for. So it's for me, it's just getting out and enjoying the ocean and making the most of what's on offer out there and just having fun, because life's too short to not have fun.
It certainly is. I think that's what's great about the sport, is it just has those disciplines that you can just carry across into all of them. Just carry your paddle and, just change your board, really.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great. Yeah. So talking about foiling, you seem pretty excited on all of that. You landed the first air on the foil the other day that you got on film. I know you've probably landed a few before then. That's super impressive. But you've improved in such a short space of time. How do you manage riding different equipment and also improving your technique?
Yeah, it's a good question. I know when I first was learning to foil, I literally didn't touch another board for 6 months, and it really meant my foiling accelerate. Like, I learned to foil quicker, but everything else sort of went to the wayside a little. I remember I jumped back on a stand-up surfboard and caught a wave, and I was like, "Where's all the speed? It's too much. There's all this drag." So since then, I've tried to literally do, one foil session, one surf session, one paddle session, and really try to mix it up. There's no doubt, like, sometimes it's always windy, so you're better off, doing a downwinder. Sometimes the surf's always good, so you're just going to go surf. And sometimes you just get obsessed with foiling and you want to land your first air. So you just do that for a little while.
You've been doing a lot of prone foiling. Have you been doing much stand-up paddle foiling?
Yeah, so generally when we tow in, we obviously are on the prone foil. I've been doing a little bit of that lately. It's kind of like Disneyland, tow foiling. So many waves, and we're lucky that we've got a local setup that there aren't many other people out. So it's honestly like not even fair, the amount of fun we're having. But the stand-up foiling is awesome too, and I still do a lot of that as well, especially when I'm downwind foiling. So I'll take my stand-up out and, go down the coast, which is awesome. And I'm not willing to risk it on a prone foil, paddling in onto a wave and pumping out to sea and then coming down and having to paddle all the way in. So on the stand-up foil, it just gives me that little bit more security, I guess. And then, also I'm SUP surf foiling as well. A little bit less recently for whatever reason. I think being winter, there's a few more waves. So I prefer to SUP surf foil when there's small waves, and then prone foil when the waves are a bit bigger, just because I can duck dive and sort of I'm a little bit less of a hazard in the bigger surf.
What's been one of the biggest motivations for you in recent years that's kind of pushed you to achieve everything that you've done?
Yeah, my goal, even now, is Molokai to Oahu. That's the one race I've always really wanted to win, and I was so stoked to be able to do that last year. And I think, I'm not sure where that came from. I think just when I first started getting into paddling, Molokai to Oahu was the pinnacle for me. The downwind racing as well, that's kind of why I really got into the racing side of things. So for me, that was where it all, I guess, began. And the reason I got into more of the racing, because when I first started, I was just into the SUP surfing. I kind of found when you travel for events, for surfing events, it's so, as you know, it's so much luck. Like, you and I in the same heat on the same day, it would kind of just depend on the waves we caught. It comes down to selection, and there's a bit of tactics there, but push can't, like, it's a bit of luck, which I love and I hate about SUP surfing. And traveling for SUP surfing, it just kills me. Like, I'm like, well, I could go all the way to the Barbados APP event, and I could get really lucky and get through a bunch of heats because I get really good waves. Or on the flip side, I could get really unlucky and not even get any waves in my heat, and that'd be the end of it, which doesn't happen for the racing. Everyone's on a level playing field. You pick your own line, and the harder you train, the better your result's going to be. So there's just a little bit of a better give and take, I found. I still love SUP surfing, and if I was on any given day, if I was given the choice of perfect SUP conditions, like downwind conditions, or perfect surfing conditions, I'd probably take surfing, because that's the passion. That's what I grew up with. But I just found there's more days than not that the downwind, as I said, we just touched on earlier, different day, different conditions, different boards, and it's always pumping, basically.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's all about luck for surfing. It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
I know, like, same as you, like, we travel around the world and we like losing the first heat because just didn't catch that one wave.
Yeah, because you caught the wave before the set. And
exactly. Exactly. It's such luck.
Like, the original question was what motivates me, and I guess that really threw me, I guess, for the SUP surfing. And I want to be able to work towards something and have it not depend on luck, and to be able to achieve something. So Molokai to Oahu was always my goal. And then now, I guess, that I've won Molokai to Oahu, that's still the goal. I'd love to do to repeat, but this year it's virtual, so that obviously I'm not expecting to repeat with the winter conditions we have here compared to the conditions they have in Hawaii. But I think it's just continuing to challenge myself. So I'm planning a few other races, the Clarence 100, and then also the Hawkesbury Classic, which are pretty different races to what I've normally done. And I'm not really expecting to excel in them, but I guess it's just throwing myself in the deep end and seeing how much work I've got to do and if it's something I want to be doing. But then also, lots of other things, foiling downwind foil adventures, and just, I guess, pushing the limits of what is achievable in these ocean sports.
How do you manage riding different equipment and also improving your technique?
Yeah, it's a good question. I know when I first was learning to foil, I literally didn't touch another board for 6 months, and it really meant my foiling accelerate. Like I learned to foil quicker, but everything else sort of went to the wayside a little. I remember I'd jump back on a stand-up surfboard and caught a wave, and I was like, "Where's all the speed? You know, it's too much. There's all this drag." A lot of people will say foiling ruins your surfing, but I think if you get to a certain level, you'll find, and with the right technique, you'll find that it actually helps. I think I was lucky with foiling that I'm a very front foot surfer. So for foiling, that helps because if you're leaning forward, you're going to stop the foil from coming up. I guess, you know, all the mobility and like sort of twisting from surfing helps with foiling. You just got to dial it back a little. So in terms of technique, you know, if you don't focus on it, you can definitely lose a lot of it. But if you just sort of go out, like I'll go out in a race board on the lake and just do like a half an hour light paddle and just work on technique. Or whether I'm doing a session with a client and we're doing a technique session, I'll do it with them. And it's so good for me to, you know, really just form everything up, you know, switch your feet so you're aligned, you know, always the right foot back. You know, I'm a natural footer, so you know, my right side will always get super tight, but when I paddle on a paddleboard, I'll switch sides, and it's really opens you up. The other thing that's really helped me, I guess, staying, injury-free is swimming. And I haven't done a lot of it lately, but swimming is like the opposite motion to paddling because you're opening up and you're stretching all the way out. And I think that really helps, decompress is the way I think of it. Not so much like swim training, but it's like just going in the pool and doing a few laps and just recovery session, basically. That's helped, I think, a lot prevent injury. But doing a little bit of everything. And I find if you do one thing, you'll notice it. One spot's really sore. But if you really do jump from one to the other, it'll assist different parts of the body and not mean anything's overdone. So you won't have any, you know, really bad injuries in one spot.
Yeah, I think it's a great insight into the swimming as well, that it really complements and helps, you know, rehabilitate what you do on the water. I think a lot of people can take that back and try and do it themselves. Do you do pool sessions or ocean swimming for that?
I prefer to do ocean just because chlorine is a bit itchy and you get a bit stinky. But if I can, I'll try ocean swimming. We're lucky we've got a few ocean pools here in Sydney, so we can do that. But also if the conditions are nice, just jumping out and even just like swimming out past the break, going 200, 300 meters up the beach, then catching a wave in. And that's as long as you can handle the colder weather, which isn't even cold compared to where you are. But I think our water temperature is like 19 degrees at the moment and everyone's in steamers.
But let's jump back on the foiling. What's your ideal foil setup right now? What aspect and size wing are you using?
It totally depends on the conditions. So I've basically, for toe foiling, I've been switching between the GL80 and the GL100, it's a higher aspect wing, but it's really small. So it's kind of basically just turns well. And being high aspect, I find the higher aspect wings have a wider range. So I can use the 100 and the 80 kind of overlap. But if it's bigger, I'll use the 80. If it's smaller, I'll use the 100. And because we're getting towed in, the speed isn't really an issue. Whereas when I'm paddling in on my prone board, I'll use either the GL120 or the GL140. And again, it just depends on the size of the wave. 120 if it's better waves, 140 if it's worse waves. And then for downwind stuff, I'm using the GL180.
Do you use the bigger size wings for lift? So obviously the slower you're going, the more lift or the easier it will be to lift up.
Yeah, exactly. So the only reason you'd use a bigger wing is because you're having trouble getting going or the waves are too small. So for me, I prefer to, like when I'm surfing especially, I'll try to use the smallest possible wing because the smaller the wing, the better it turns, the tighter the arc, the faster you go. When downwinding, you've really got to be careful about what wing you pick because if you use too small a wing or too fast a wing, you'll actually be going faster than the chops or the swells that are running past you. So if you are learning, it's always best to use something bigger because you're always going to get up and everything, if you're using a big, slow wing, there's always going to be something that's moving faster than you, so you can tap into that energy and go with it. Whereas if you try to use the same wing that, you know, Kai Lenny's using, A, you probably won't get up at all because it's hard to get up on those tiny little wings. And B, if you do get up, you're going to have a hard time to link anything. So linking the chops or the bumps. So I guess the biggest tip I've got to anyone learning or trying to learn to downwind foil or even just learn to foil surf is start in small waves and a bigger wing, because that's going to allow you to lift. If you are in bigger surf, definitely use a smaller wing, because there's nothing worse than overpowered and getting thrown off.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a really good tip. I'm like a complete newbie to foiling, and I've just tried it a couple of times. I'm like trying the wing foiling,
yeah,
and I'm like trying to get my head around the wind and using the foil. And so I think it's a bit too much at the moment, but that's a really good tip. So if someone's trying to get the lift up, where should they be distributing their weight?
So I always, whenever I'm teaching, it always depends on where you're learning, but I always teach the first few sessions or first few waves or first few toes behind a boat, try to keep the board in the water. So front foot forward, because the board basically, it acts like training wheels. As soon as you get up off the foil, you're on this one little skinny point and you're basically on a unicycle. So think about the board as your training wheels. And if you can ride a wave and turn side to side and control where you're going with the foil and board in the water, that's going to teach you a lot, because the foil is still acting if your board's in the water. So think about it as, okay, I'm just going to ride these next two waves as training wheels and literally just continue the whole wave to the end. I see so many people try to get lift on their first wave and they'll literally get a meter and fall off. And you learn nothing doing that. So a lot of people tend to have too much back foot pressure, which creates that bucking bronco sort of style foiling, which we always want to try to avoid. So yeah, try to control the foil by leaning forward. And that really is the skill for foiling. A lot of people think getting up in the sky is the hard bit, but actually putting the board back down onto the water is the real skill. And if you can control that and control your altitude, then you're going to go a long way to learning faster.
Do you switch up your paddles for like stand-up paddle foiling and surfing, or is it the same paddle you use?
Yeah. So at first I just stuck with my surf paddle, but my surf paddle, as you know, the way SUP surfing has gone the last few years, very small volume boards. So, you know, if I'm not moving, I'm probably sinking. So my surf paddle's about, you know, just above my eyebrows, and that's like it's like when I put the paddle in, it feels like it's sort of similar. My foiled board paddle is a little bit longer, so probably same height as me. The only reason being, once you're up and on the foil, the paddle that's, you know, eyebrow height, you have to lean over so much to get the paddle in the water. And then for my race board, I kind of do like a fist or like a half shaka above my head. So I've kind of got a few different paddles for the different conditions. But in saying that, if I only had one in the car, I'd be able to use one and get away with it. But what I hate is when I'm using my race board paddle with my foil or SUP surf, because it's just, I feel like my shoulder pops out. I hate too long a paddle. I prefer too short any day. But it is interesting, the differences that I've sort of figured out.
Yeah, of course. And do you change blade sizes or different flexes with the paddle?
I love a stiff shaft. I guess because my paddle is so short, it doesn't hurt my shoulders too much. So I use a stiffer shaft so I can handle for the conditions. So generally for SUP surf and foil, I use a stiff shaft with I just use like it's a medium to smallish blade, just because we're racing to get it going. I wouldn't be against a big blade, but it's just the one I've got at the moment. I'm happy with it. For the race board paddle, I'm using, again, it's for downwind, I'm using a really stiff shaft with quite a big blade. And then for the flatter stuff, I've got a little bit of a softer shaft, just because the repetition hurts.
Before we get to the end of it, James, we've got a quick sprint round that we like to do. It's a quick fire question round. So just some short answers, all I need from you. Are you ready to go?
Been dreading it, but ready to
Oh,
go.
I bet you have. I know. So what's one board to use for the rest of your life? Would it be race SUP, surf SUP, foil board, downwind, touring board, just a normal surfboard?
Probably foil board. Very versatile.
Yeah, nice. What's your favorite race that you've been to?
Molokai to Oahu. It's the pinnacle for me. They do a good job of making a big event of it.
Yeah, fantastic. Warm or cold water to paddle in?
You'd think it'd be an easy answer, but when it's warm, the crowds are tripled. So I'm actually going to go cold.
Nice answer. I like that. Yeah, very cool. What's been your favorite place to stand up paddleboard?
Maui's a very special place to me. The fact that you can downwind, you can foil, you can surf, you can SUP surf, you can wing foil, you can kite surf. That's definitely it's a very special place, I'd say, for me.
Yeah. Who is the best person to paddleboard with?
That's a good question. I really enjoy paddling with Marcus Tardrew, mainly because he'll only paddleboard when the conditions are really good. And now we've lost him to the foil. We may never paddleboard again, but he'd be good to foil downwind with.
Who inspires you, just in general?
I think I take a little bit of inspiration from everyone. What Boothie's done with the professionalism that he's brought to stand-up paddle racing, and similar to Kai in the ocean sports as well. Casper Steinfath too, with the little movies and stuff he's created. Lincoln and all these guys that are doing these cool little adventures and creating a story around it. I think that's really cool, and it just inspires me to do my own version of it.
Yeah, for sure. What would be your ideal conditions for a day of paddling? Would it be windy or not windy?
Oh, I love the wind. I'm a wind junkie, I think, now.
Nice. I can't stand the wind.
You got to embrace it.
I know. I have to embrace it. I know.
Keep trying with the wing foil. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, I will keep at that. It is a lot of fun. I'm going to try and get up on the foil yet, but I'll get there. Yeah, I'll get there. James, thanks for being with us today. Is there anything else you'd like to add to the conversation?
No, I'd just like to thank you, Bo. Great job, spreading the word. And since we first chatted a couple of months ago, I've had a look at, SUP Water magazine, the work you've been doing, and it's cool to sort of see all the good stuff that's on there. So yeah, happy to, be a little podcast on there, and hopefully we can do a bit more moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be fantastic. Well, thanks, James.
Thank you for watching another episode of Voices of SUP. Really hope you enjoyed listening to James Casey. Please feel free to like and comment below.